Hey guys, I'm out here with my good buddy Mikey, the Polish gentleman that drinks a Pepsi every morning right out of the gate.
No coffee, Pepsi only.
We got entirely too much gear today. We're going out on the ice with some new Humminbird Mega Live 2 and Explorer units rigged out in these fish armor boxes, and our goal is to go into a basin area and tag team basin panfish, and there's some big pike roaming around too. So Mike can talk a little bit about this scenario that happens on natural lakes throughout the Great Lakes states.
Yeah, so up where we are in the north, there's tons of lakes, tons of small lakes and big lakes, but there's crappies in basins and there's crappies in weed lines. A lot of the lakes have a main basin in them, and crappies like to stage there. They can be hard to find because basins are big, but with this technology we can go out and make pretty short order of finding where they are, and then it's just a matter of getting them to bite. So,
and it's like two guys hunting together in the woods. You can help kind of maneuver each other appropriately and set guys up where the fish are moving. So we'll kind of go through that strategy a little bit too, and with any luck we'll catch some fish. So let's get after
it. Should be a good old time out there, Ryan.
So Mike and I are on the spot. What we're essentially looking at is a field, and if you make a comparison to like deer hunting, you don't just shoot aimlessly out into a field. You need to acquire the target with your scope, and that's what we're going to do using forward-facing sonar. With this technology, we're able to drill one hole and very easily look out 100 feet and mark fish, even up to 120, 130. So, you got over 200-foot diameter that you're able to search from a single hole location, and then from there, we'll kind of tighten the noose, as they say, around the location of those fish.
Yeah, and the cool thing about the basin fish is they're rarely like right on the bottom. They're always pretty much suspended at least 5 feet off or even halfway up the water column. So they really can't hide, can they? I mean, it's like you're gonna, you hate to say it, but you're gonna find them. It's not if you find them. If they're in the basin, you will find them with this technology. It's quite a powerful tool and fun too, fishing with it. So
yeah, and some advances with the technology. At the time of this filming, Mega Live 2 was recently released, as was the Explorer 9, which is Humminbird's new platform to replace the Helix lineup. Yeah, there's GPS built into it, but we use GPS on our phones now to drop waypoints on productive spots or pull up our Lake Master and do that data management. So we'll also do some work on our phone, just dropping waypoints where there's some fish, and we'll have return spots we can come back. One thing that we'll look for out here is sunken trees or some cover that will help hold these fish from roaming. So that's something that we'll be able to see on this technology as well. So.
The other cool thing too is we do have the option, once we do find the fish and if they kind of sit still, is we can switch this transducer into down mode and switch the screen into a down mode, so you can actually fish with the unit like you would have a 2D flasher, but you're covering a bigger area. So like Ryan and I could fish 20 feet apart, but we could see both our jigs on one unit.
One fish finder.
Yeah, and then just see what the fish are doing and get a better idea in a down view mode as to how they're reacting to your baits. So, well, I'll start punching some holes and you can kind of go snoop with the thing, huh?
Yeah, sounds good.
With the Explorer unit.
You betcha.
Bit of ice, that's for sure.
All right.
I'll just wait to see what you see first before I punch any more.
So as Mike was saying, we're going to start out in forward mode, and if you look at the transducer bracket, it has some tick marks. So I'm going to just turn this so F aligns with that white mark, and that's going to allow me to look out a good distance. Currently have my range set to 100 feet, and we'll see if we can acquire any fish. So that's a big pike right there. It's a pike. How big it is, I don't know, but
suspended about 15 feet down.
So there's that isolated
piece of structure, we'll call it.
Whatever it is. So. And look at that. I mean,
nobody home.
200 feet. We're not marking anything. Well, that's useful information. The absence of fish is key information. So this basin is probably only 40 acres, which is not big, but I'm looking 200 feet, there's nothing here. So that just tells Mike and I that we're gonna keep moving. I mean, we're gonna move the machines, and then we'll jump about 100, 200, 300 feet from this location, and then kind of overlap our search radiuses.
Yeah, you know, back in the old days, before this, you'd look at a map and say, there's the basin of the lake, the crappies are going to be in the basin, and you would go set up into it. And inevitably, you would probably catch some fish. They move around a lot out in here, cover ground throughout the day, but you might be waiting half the day before the fish, you know, you come into target with the fish. But with this, we're going to eliminate the time of waiting to find the fish to come to us. We're going to find them.
And look at that, guys.
There they are. Right?
100 feet.
They just popped into
100 feet out here. At 20 feet down, that's the other thing too. These are fish that we can release. We don't like targeting crappie at deep holes that are prone to barotrauma. So that's a good school. So now I'm just going to increase our range a little bit.
But you can see as we're doing that, they're swimming towards us. They're at 90 feet now. Look at that, closing the gap.
Let's bump up our range.
Well, I'm gonna go cut another hole about 50 feet out and we can take another peek at them, eh?
Yeah, so now I'm looking out 130 and there's definitely life out there. I'm gonna turn up my sensitivity a little bit. All touch screen here, so yeah, I was on 0. I'm gonna bump that up to, 10 on sensitivity, just to have a little more power and sonar return. There's a bunch of fish out there. I mean, a nice wad of fish. There's a lot of fish here. The more fish you have in an area, concentrated, the more competitive they are, the better they tend to bite.
That's insane.
Look at them.
It's a huge wad.
They cover ground so fast. Look at them. They're all over.
I dropped a spoon with a couple maggots on it, and it's a little bit bigger spoon to target bigger fish, but they just won't hardly look at it. So I think I'm just going to go back to starters and get a smaller, like horizontal presentation, more like something you'd use for sunfish, and drop it on them again.
These fish will go through a lot of moods over the course of a day. Usually there's a prime feeding window, or maybe a couple over the course of a day. And then, you'll have a period where they get more inactive and finicky. So we like to have 4 or 5 rods rigged. A spoon, a jig and wrap, a 1/16 ounce small jig, a 32nd ounce jig, something with plastic, something tipped with Eurolarva.
Come on, you little buggers, here he comes. There we go. Finicky little devils, huh? Just changing bait styles and a little less bait on it, and got one of them to cooperate anyhow. But yeah, there's just a wad. My screen is half full of fish down there. It's crazy. Oh, that's a beauty. Look at this guy here. That's a good, nice fish there. It's the kind we like to catch. So there we go. Just a little bit of downsizing, got him to cooperate. Whoa. So yeah, it's a good quality fish. I think I'll let her go. Nice. And like Ryan said earlier, that's what's nice about we're fishing in 28 feet of water, and some of the barotrauma stuff our DNR has done has said that if you're catching fish in over 30 feet of water, there's probably a good chance some of them will suffer barotrauma, and you're probably killing fish. So the best option then is to not release fish. But the fish we're catching now are at, I mean, that fish I caught was at 18 feet in 30 feet. So there should be plenty, he's in a plenty good range to let fish go. So we can actually catch and release fish here if we want to. So, and they're still down there. And I'm gonna see if I can get another one. Oh, no, you went away. Come on, I'll go down. Oh yeah, here they come, here they come. This will be a bite. Ready, doink. There we go. It's nice when you see more than one fish coming up at a time. You got a pretty good chance that one of them is going to get it. So just going to go kind of slow here. There we go. Similar size critter right there. A little bit smaller, but still nice fish. If you're gonna keep crappies to eat, this is a good size. Those 10 and 11 inch fish are really good cutting size fish if you did decide you wanted to keep a fish for din-din. Palesies, yeah. We'll let them go.
Ooh. Feels decent. So you'll notice I don't have fish there with forward facing right now. We found the fish, and then Mike came over with this 2D unit, and there at times seems to be something to it where there's a different frequency. So it's something to pay attention to. We still like having the option to go 2D on the fish. Little guy. But you know, they readily eat plastic through the ice. I like a durable plastic. You know, this is a tail cut off on a little Z-Man Micro Finesse, so it's super durable, but that Elastec TPE material is really soft on ice, so there's a lot of action down there without having to move the bait much. It just undulates. And then a red color, you know, I don't know if it matters, but they certainly eat a lot of invertebrate life, you know, dark drab, red colored worms, bloodworms, so I tend to like a motor oil or a green pumpkin or a red plastic, just because when you cut them open, that's the color of what's in their gut.
Got him, huh?
Wrapped around here.
Of course it is, huh?
That feels decent. Uh-oh. Respectable little crappie. Yeah, they're down there in down mode now. And the key is to get back on them quickly.
There he is. Barely moved the rod tip.
I saw him come up, Mike. I'm watching him.
Really biting light. I guess it depends on the bite window you're in, but sometimes they bite really good, and sometimes you really gotta babysit them to get them to bite. Maybe typical sized one.
What's a good crappie for you, Mikey? What's kind of that number?
To eat?
Or just like what?
I like
11 inches are respectable.
Yeah,
fish,
yeah. This one's like, I mean, you could
That's
eat
a
this
10.
one. That's a 10, but 11's a good one to 10 and a half. 11s are really, I think, good ones for harvesting. I always like letting the big ones go. I don't know why, I just do. I think that help keeping a good size structure in the lake is important, right? If you remove all one size, you sort of sometimes screw up a lake. So
yeah.
Yeah, when the crappies are biting, you can catch them on just about anything, but when they're not, you've got to really try finessing them with different types of bait. So I've been going back and forth between a horizontal style bait with one maggot and a vertical one with a couple maggots on it, but smaller size. We tried bigger baits earlier, but that's one thing about this unit that's cool. So if you look at the screen, we're covering 20 feet in either direction. So this cone is shooting out kind of in a rectangle 20 feet either way. So I'm covering a huge swath of water. Now right now these fish are right smack underneath the transducer. I don't know, can't count them, but there's probably 20 to 30 crappie sitting right under me. So, you know, so the old sayings, you can find them, but you still got to make them bite. So even with this amazing technology, we got to find the fish. We came out here, we found the fish, we've drilled around, we've got an area where we know they are, and we're fishing them, but we still can't readily catch them because they just don't want to bite. But I can see the mood of the fish, what they're doing. You know, if they were really biting, they'd just be rocketing up out of this school to hit my bait, and now they're just milling around and not wanting to bite. Yeah, I can see my jig, and there's, I don't know, I'd say there's between 20, 25, 30 fish down there milling around. You can just see into individual fish on this type of sonar. So, okay, so right now, here's my bait. It's probably about 5 feet above the fish, the little dot moving, and I'm gonna drop it down right into, so this one fish on top. And what normally you would do is you would keep it just above them so you can see, and then you could watch the separation as the fish close the gap on your bait. But as you can see, they're not doing that. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna drop it right down into them. So it's in front of a whole bunch of fish's face right now. And I'll see if one will shoot out of the pile to grab it. Got him. A little picky little bugger. He finally nudged it enough to bite. Boy, it's crazy how finicky they can be. But yeah, just barely, look at that, just barely beaked. Like he just barely grabbed it. They're just being really picky this time of the day, but it's kind of interesting. Just, you can, like I said before, you can look on there and see what you're dealing with, right? You get a big picture of what's down there. So there's, you know, not just, you don't, on a 2D sonar, you'll see fish, but you might not know how many there are. If they keep coming in, that's great. But with this, you got an idea of how many fish you're actually dealing with. And now, if I decided I wanted to, I could cut 10 holes around here as this group moves around, and then I could just move hole to hole to hole, trying to stay on top of them as they move around. But it's kind just kind of neat to see the scope of how many fish there really are down there.
So today we're fishing a mix of fish finders. We have a Helix ice pack on their shuttle system, which is your traditional 2D sonar, which we still like to have in the field. It's just a proven technology and it's a nice form factor for transport. And then we've been fishing the new Explorer units on an after-party shuttle, fish armor shuttles, which are really purpose-built for mounting your fish finder of choice and rigging out your unit how you want. They have all kinds of accessories that allow you to hold your forward-facing mast, integrated power supply, and just a really nice self-contained unit. And what we have been noticing is the fish do seem a little averse to the forward-facing sonar signal today. So that's where it doesn't hurt having a 2D unit. You use the forward-facing to find that school of fish and then get on top of them with old school 2D sonar where they may be less spooky to that signal. So we're kind of using both sonar technologies, but that's kind of getting pretty widely acknowledged in the fishing world as, yeah, the fish will get conditioned to the sonar signal too. So that's a little better, Mike.
Looks like it, yeah. They're
Yeah,
starting to kind of bite a little bit, aren't they?
they are. They're getting a little more active as that sun's getting lower.
Yeah, there we go. That's what we're looking for.
Yeah. It's a nice average size crappie. But you can see how small we've went just for this tough midday high sun bite. That's one thing when you consider jigs. We like to carry a good selection. A 16th ounce, that's probably a go-to. That's a jig that allows you to get down quickly to the fish and run a more appropriate hook size. And then 32nd is probably your go-to during a tough finicky bite. And then a 64th, you know, shallower water applications. But I mean, that's just a classic teardrop profile, a little VMC with 2 euro larva for a tough bite like this. And worth experimenting between horizontal jigs and vertical jigs. You know, they may have a preference. The nice thing with the vertical jig is you don't have to readjust your knot or snell your jig. It hangs naturally in the vertical orientation. That's what Mike's been using today and catching some fish. But as the fish's mood changes, that's where I might go to more aggressive bait just to fish more efficiently, get down quicker. Now they are starting to bite better now. It's a little bit better fish there too. Standard, you know, rod reel line setup. I do like modern inline reels just from a line management standpoint, and it's really about line twist. You fish these little finesse jigs, and with a spinning reel, you will get a lot of jig spinning down the hole. That bigger spool diameter coupled with the straight inline tends to keep that bait from spinning down in the hole. And then you get pretty comfortable and accustomed to just hand feeding like this. It's a fast up and down, minimal line twist. Light, you know, a light power rod with a soft tip is pretty key. A lot of your bite detection is gonna come through just observing the rod tip. You don't feel these fish bite oftentimes. And my preferred line's 2-pound fluorocarbon or monofilament. I like a 2-pound fluorocarbon for most of my light finesse pan fishing. If it's a good bite, or I'm able to upsize to a little bit bigger bait, like spoons and jigging wraps, then yeah, 3-pound for sure. But I always have a mix of 2 and 3-pound line.